Hola clase, ¿cómo están? Excelente, and welcome back to Learning with Senor Cao Cao. All right, let's go ahead and do our warm-up for today. So we are getting into the imperfect tense and then quickly moving into preterite and imperfect. So this says, just this little pretest here, using the imperfect tense, which we will review today, write the following. And so your endings for AR are aba, abas, aba, and so on, and then ER, IR, you have iya. All right, so saquen papel y practiquen. Pause the video now. We used to run every day would be corríamos todos los días. So in that one word, corríamos, we used to run. They were eating chicken. Comían pollo. As a child, Miguel spoke Spanish. De niño, Miguel hablaba español. Because again, this is not a sudden thing. This is something that used to happen back when he was little. Were you practicing? There are two ways to say this. You could say, practicabas. Most people are going to say this. This is extremely common. ¿Estabas practicando? Or maybe interrupt your friend eating. ¿Estabas comiendo? Teresa was short. Teresa era baja. These last two are irregular. I used to go to Disney World every year. Iba a Disney World todos los años or cada año. Okay, now let's go over your notes on this. This is on a sheet that I am putting on Google Classroom. Okay, el imperfecto, the imperfect tense. Again, these are your endings. Aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, aban, iya, iyas, iya, íamos, íais, iam. So notice nosotros will always have an accent mark, and all of these do as well. Okay, the imperfect tense is another past tense. It means the typical translation is was doing something, were doing something, or used to do something. This tense is for things that were either ongoing, such as every summer we used to go to the beach, or things that were happening, such as I was running, etc. In this way, the imperfect is much more like a video than a photo because it did not happen in one moment. A major function of this tense is to, quote, set the scene and describe what was going on in the background at the time that something else happened. For example, we were reading when the door opened, or they were exercising when it began to storm. Okay? Now, we've already done our three irregulars, ir, ser, ver. These are words that are closely associated with the imperfect because these are things that did not happen in a moment. Siempre, this is something that always used to happen. Nunca, that never used to happen. Todos los días, every day. A menudo, often. Los lunes, on Mondays. Frecuentemente, frequently, and muchas veces, many times. The whole point to this, guys, is you cannot nail this down to a moment. There's nothing momentary about saying the house was white or we used to study together. Things like that. There's nothing that was just one moment about that. That's what the preterite is, but not this. Some other expressions just to throw them in. De niño, as a child. Cuando yo era joven, when I was young. And so on. Okay? Now, common uses for this, notice that these are all background things, telling what time it was when something happened, what the weather was doing, how old you were when something happened, describing things. She was tall. Interrupted actions. I was sleeping when it fell. Many mental things, such as thinking, pondering, wondering, things like that are imperfect. The imperfect tense sets the scene. We're just decorating the set here. The sun was shining, they were reading, I was tired. This is back when I was 10 years old, blah, blah, blah. We are decorating, we're explaining, we're adding details, but nothing is actually happening to move the story forward. Okay? The time frame, the whole idea, this is a vague, non-specific time. Okay? Here's a specific thing. We ran yesterday at 5 o'clock. That is a clear beginning and end. That's preterite. You would say, corrimos ayer a las 5. Boom, textbook, all day. Imperfect, we were running. We used to run. This is much more open. You can't tell me when this happened, how many times. It just says, yeah, we were running. We used to run together. But again, we have not established a clear beginning and end to this time frame, and for that reason, it is imperfect. Okay, so here are some examples for you to try, kind of like we did in the warm-up. Okay, again, you have your aba, ia, and then your three irregulars, iba, era, veía. Okay, so let's try this for a minute, now that we've gone over our little mini lesson here. Okay, saquen papel y practiquen. Okay, we used to run every day would be corríamos todos los días. They were eating. Comían, again, or estaban comiendo. As a child, I read a lot. De niño, or niña if you are a female, yo leía mucho. He used to go to the beach. Iba a la playa. I was small. Era bajo or baja. She was selling books. Ella vendía or estaba vendiendo libros. We spoke Spanish as children. Hablábamos español de niños. And there we go. Okay, again, every one of those, if you look, there is not a moment. There's no moment in there where you could look and say, yes, this happened yesterday at 5 o'clock, because we don't know. This didn't happen in a moment anyway. Okay, so that is a quick little review of the imperfect tense. Now, to show you another example, have a look at this. This is me back in the 80s. There's little mini coward. Who knew that one day I would be a rich, famous, powerful Spanish teacher? Well, at least some of those things. All right. De niño, en los años 80, as a child back in the 80s, yo era precioso. Yo miraba los Ninja Turtles todos los días. Yo escuchaba la música de Michael Jackson. Yo leía los libros de Goosebumps. Mis amigos bebían Capri Sun frecuentemente cuando hacía calor. Mi familia y yo siempre íbamos a Hilton Head en el verano. And there we go. So, all right, don't get sick. I'm going to put it back to the first one. Okay, so notice none of these things were just a moment. I was cute. I used to watch the Ninja Turtles every day. I listened to Michael Jackson music, and I did have a Sony Walkman. That was the standard back then. You got to have your Walkman. I used to read Goosebumps books. My friends would drink Capri Sun frequently when it was hot. My family and I always went to Hilton Head in the summer. Okay, so again, these are things that were ongoing, happened multiple times. That picture in my little Oshkosh Bagosh overalls. I better watch out for me. Okay, now I think we can skip this. Okay, I'm going to skip something. Okay, now let's do this. This is something I'm going to do live in class today, but let's do this anyway. Just take a moment, write down two things that you used to do as a kid using your Aba Iya stuff. All right, pause the video now. Okay, so you could have said, Yo miraba SpongeBob, yo comía in Waffle House, yo vivía in Augusta, anything like that, okay? Okay, now, so one more time before I give you your assignment and leave you is this. I want to re-emphasize the importance here, okay? Let's make it put it in context. Comía, tacos. All right, all these are going to be yo. Okay, so just based on the verb endings, we know a few things. Number one, we know who did it. All of these are yo endings and conjugations. So the first one, we have comí tacos versus comía tacos. What is the difference between the two? And when I ask this, what I want to know is how many times did each one of these happen? Comí tacos, that happened once. You could say comí tacos ayer. Comía tacos would be more than once. Comía tacos todos los días. That was here and here and here and here and here. That's every day something is happening. Fui a Target. That happened once. Fui a Target anoche. I went to Target last night. It happened once. Iba a Target cada noche. I used to go to Target every night. Okay? And again, we have like Morse code. You get the idea. Okay, this is all the times that was happening. Now, the last thing that I'm going to leave you with is this. I have a practice worksheet for you, and here is what it looks like. This will be on Google Classroom in a moment. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you today and tomorrow to do this, but this is a really good practice with when do I use preterite, when do I use imperfect. Okay, you got all your endings in your notes and all that sort of thing. So this says, write each situation in Spanish using either preterite or the imperfect. Okay, I ran yesterday. I always used to run. Choosing the right endings is going to be everything, because when you're talking to somebody out in the real world, that lets them know who did it and when it happened and even how many times. All right, here you have translate to English. Now these are important. This one is, let me try to explain this. All right, let me pull up Microsoft Paint. I like to use my professional tools here. Let's get professional here with some MS Paint. Okay, so a preterite action we'll call this. Imperfect action we'll call this. Okay, a preterite is something sudden. An imperfect is something that is kind of going along in the background. Okay, so let me show you an example similar to this. Okay, let's say I was writing when the dog ate my taco. That's a shame. This kid's just trying to do their homework and this happens. I was writing when the dog ate my taco. First of all, this is going to be your imperfect. I was writing. This is going on in the background. Imagine a stage in the background. I'm over here writing. I'm writing. I was writing. I was writing. All of a sudden, the dog ate the taco. This interrupted. Okay? I was was riding, suddenly, bang, the dog ate the taco. Okay, so here's the sentence. Yo escribía cuando el perro comió mi taco. Sorry, it's going to bug me. Okay, so again, yo escribía, I was writing, all of a sudden, bang, the dog ate the taco and interrupted. We call this an interrupting action. Okay, I was writing when, boom, the dog ate my taco. Now, we don't have long to go over all of this, so I want to emphasize once again, look for sudden one-time actions. She came in, we arrived. And down here, where you fill in the story, you have to choose between preterite and imperfect. Okay? For example, this is cuando yo era niño, back when I was a kid. So you have to look at each one and figure out, is this something sudden that happened? Or was this something maybe describing or in the background? Okay? So again, you got today and tomorrow to do this. See how you do. Okay? All right, I will see you on the next one. Adios.